As the jump serve serves as the initial offensive action in a rally, it presents the first opportunity for a team to score a point. Success in the jump serve is defined by serving a ball that the opposing team cannot return. To achieve this, the ball must attain a high velocity, creating an unpredictable trajectory, giving the receivers as little time as possible to react. Therefore, the primary objective of the jump serve is to maximize ball velocity. In order to achieve maximum ball velocity, a number of components of this goal must be considered. We can see in the deterministic model that maximum impulse plays a large role in dictating the maximum ball velocity. As impulse is a product of force and time, we must address these variables as much as possible through a number of critical features. Force and its determinants will be the major focus in this biomechanical analysis, and we can see a large number of critical features below the force heading which will all play a significant role in increasing force production and furthermore impulse to ultimately maximize ball velocity. This biomechanical analysis aims to examine the significance of in-flight movements in enhancing ball velocity. Consequently, our primary emphasis will be on arm cocking, the backward C-shaped maneuver, arm acceleration, ball contact, and how these phases collectively influence ball velocity. Additionally, we will look at the quantitative critical features within these phases. We'll focus on the force and impulse that has been generated from these phases, as well as investigating the impact of angular velocity, another highly influential feature for maximum ball velocity. A crucial element of a successful jump serve is the adoption of the backward C-shaped maneuver. This maneuver occurs while the player is in mid-air and is characterized by the non-striking arm extending forward to the chest to maintain balance. Simultaneously, the striking arm bends the elbow backwards and moves it to the side of the head. Additionally, the abdomen and hip extend, with the calf flexing backward, resulting in the formation of a backward C shape. This movement harnesses the elastic potential energy stored in our tendons. Rapidly stretching and releasing tendons results in a high-speed recoil with significant kinetic energy, surpassing the regular shortening speed of a muscle. The movement is achieved through hip extension and knee flexion before ball contact, and a subsequent hip flexion and knee extension at the moment of ball impact. This maneuver implicates the preservation of angular momentum. During this critical phase, the angular momentum generated by the upper body must be counteracted by an opposing angular momentum of the lower body. This is done with knee flexion and hip extension mentioned earlier. This maneuver highlights the importance of the proximal to distal segmental activation, which reveals maximal angular velocities with segmental activation of the pelvis rotation, trunk rotation, elbow extension, and finally shoulder internal rotation. It's evident that the participant's execution of this maneuver is lacking when we compare these screen captures to an ideal jump serve as depicted in a study by Tilt. Poor knee flexion is noticeable in only one of the participants' legs, as the other one does not flex at all. Additionally, there is minimal hip extension during the in-flight stages, and furthermore, this deficiency can be seen at ball contact, with adequate hip flexion only observed in one leg and a lack of hip flexion in the other. In the arm cocking phase, the shoulder is internally rotated and abducted, the elbow is flexed, and the hand is positioned near the head. The primary purpose of this arm cocking phase is to reduce the moment of inertia of the arm. This reduction leads to an increase in the angular velocity of rotation and the linear velocity of the arm during the arm acceleration phase. As a consequence, the momentum transmitted by the limb will be amplified. The arm acceleration phase is critical. It requires rapid external rotation followed by rapid internal rotation of the shoulder. The phase demands a previously internally rotated shoulder during the cocking phase, and this phase can be likened to cracking the whip after it was coiled in the arm cocking phase. So the phases of the arm cocking and arm acceleration are separated by the moment of maximum external rotation of the striking shoulder. Moving into ball contact. At this stage, the momentum and velocity from the previous phases are applied to the ball, generating a maximum impulse that is then transferred from the hand to the ball, which results in a high ball velocity. At the moment of ball contact, the shoulder should have rapidly internally rotated and the elbow should be fully extended with the wrist flexed. A study from Syrian and colleagues suggests more elite players exhibit an earlier onset of this elbow extension and they strike the ball in a more extended position compared to the younger volleyball players. There are some detrimental faults which are evident in the participant's execution of the arm cocking, arm acceleration, and ball contact phases. As mentioned earlier, these three phases work in conjunction to generate a large impulse to be transferred to the ball, and therefore their accurate execution is pivotal. We observe minimal internal shoulder rotation during the cocking phase, as the participant leads his jump with his arm already externally rotated. This results in insufficient external rotation at the moment of acceleration phase. Additionally, at the point of ball contact, the elbow is still far from fully extended and the wrist is still unable to flex. These faults significantly decrease the ability to generate velocity and momentum, ultimately hampering the success in achieving maximum ball velocity. These faults detected in the participant's execution of the jump serve reveal more distinct discrepancies when calculating the quantitative variables that are crucial to the success of a jump serve. The participant manages to produce a low ball velocity of 5 meters per second or 19 kilometers an hour. This is accompanied by an output of under 50 newtons of force and a low impulse. When contrasted with experienced players who are reaching 90 to 100 kilometers an hour with their ball velocity, this difference in execution becomes highly evident. So to enhance ball velocity, it's vital to amplify the force exerted by the participant, which can be further enhanced by increasing the momentum generated during the preceding critical movements, thereby improving the impulse transferred to the ball. The angular velocity produced in elbow extension is highly regarded in the literature as a key determinant in increasing ball velocity in the volleyball jump serve. So utilizing Canovia, the elbow extension angle at the initial acceleration phase and the final elbow extension angle at ball contact were measured to find displacement. Using this data, I calculated the angular velocity by dividing the displacement by the time taken between the initial and final measurements. The calculations revealed that the participant had an angular velocity of around 57 degrees per second. It was interesting to compare this with the literature, where experienced under 19 youth volleyball players were reaching average elbow angular velocities of nearly 1600 degrees per second. So this serves as a clear indicator of the importance of strong technique and mastery of the previously mentioned qualitative critical movements. By optimizing the performance of these critical features, a synchrony will ensue, enhancing the maximum force output, the momentum, angular velocity, and impulse which can be exerted on the volleyball. Ultimately, this optimization will lead to maximizing ball velocities and successful jump serves. In observing the performance, accurate measurement of the critical jump serve features were vital for this biomechanical analysis. To capture these features effectively, proper camera placement using a wide shot angle was essential. Stabilization was ensured through the use of a tripod and a level. Recording took place during daytime to ensure suitable lighting. The QT sports field was used, allowing for a clear and uncluttered background. Key joints were marked with yellow markers to facilitate precise tracking and accurate calculations. Dual cameras recorded the participant in sagittal and coronal planes at 240 fps in slow motion for clear, reliable footage. The participant also underwent a thorough warm-up for safety and efficiency and was instructed to jump and spike the ball with the goal of achieving maximum ball velocity. In order to achieve a maximum ball velocity, a synchrony of strong technique is required at each critical feature mentioned earlier. To enhance the participant's backward C-shape maneuver and optimize the stretch-shorten reflex, the participant must increase the knee flexion in both legs during the concentric phase, as well as hip extension. The participant had better results in the eccentric phase, however improvement could still be made in hip flexion and knee extension. For the cocking phase, the participant must ensure the shoulder starts internally rotated to again increase the benefit of the stretch-shorten reflex, as this would allow for rapid external rotation followed by another rapid internal shoulder rotation during the arm acceleration phase. During the arm acceleration phase, the participant should aspire to begin elbow extension earlier to ensure the elbow is optimally extended at the ball contact phase rather than after. Additionally, this would allow for more time for the wrist to flex during the ball contact phase. Furthermore, as recommended by the literature, the proximal to distal segmental activation of pelvis rotation, trunk rotation, elbow extension, and shoulder rotation will enhance the angular velocities and further maximize ball velocity. Thank you for listening.